It was a perfect mirror to what was happening in the very beginning. So in the beginning, when June is in the dark, and what I'm going to presume was pre-sunrise, and she's cutting her hair, and it's too dark for anyone else to see. It's a very raw moment, but there's no emotional payoff. This final scene is a perfect like bookend to that same effect.
Cool.
It is incredibly dark with this sort of like blue cast over, and my presumption is that it's happening at night.
Yeah.
And it's June and Luke. Like, June approaches Luke in what's presumably the bedroom, and you see mostly shadows, and like the light that you do see is reflected that same sort of blue. And June says, "Luke, I need to tell you something. I need to tell you about the last time I saw Hannah." And there's so much of this scene that I want to unpack. I loved this scene. This might have been my favorite 30 seconds of the episode.
Ooh, okay.
Because you have this gorgeous dark lighting that reflected at the very beginning, but it's at the tail end. It's at the as the sun's setting. You have June and Luke. Like, Luke is, I'm assuming, sitting on a bed, but again, the lighting is very dark, so it's hard to see. And she approaches him, and they do embrace. And this felt like a genuine embrace. It didn't feel like in the kitchen when, like, it felt jilted, or when Luke was trying to connect and he was saying, "I'm trying," and she uses her sexuality to try to shut him up. This felt like the first genuine intimate moment that these two have. Yeah. It felt raw, and it also felt like this was the first time that June was willing to let her emotional guard down. With just saying, "I need to tell you about the last time I saw Hannah," and you see like the shadow, and Luke like pulls his head away and he looks up at her, and then he sort of like tucks his head back down to like hug her, because I think he understood that like he was going to hear something terrible, but she needed bracing.
Right.
And I loved this because it was like that emotional support.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going, but do either of you two want to jump in for anything I've said so far?
I think that you're right on. And all I have to say about the end of this episode is that I hope they pick up right where they left off in the next one.
Oh, yeah.
Because I want to be a fly on the wall for that conversation. Although if they don't go that way, I understand it, because that is a very personal, private, and raw, and it's going to be a traumatic conversation. For both of them. So if they don't show it and they want to keep it between them, I completely understand. But I really feel like we're going to be missing something if we don't at least see like Luke's reaction to this info. Because think about what last time I saw Hannah means to June. She's going to tell him that his kid was in a box. That is fucked up beyond belief. She has to tell him the circumstances around Hannah being in a box. And it's going to come along with things like, I was waterboarded. They also put me in a box. She was beaten. She was tortured for days. I mean, and this is where, I'm hoping that she'll also get into the psychological warfare aspects of what she's been through too. I don't think Luke is going to be the same person at the end of that conversation. I think it's going to destroy him. Because he doesn't know the half of what Gilead has done to June. He doesn't know the half of what Gilead has done to his daughter. He doesn't know what is in store for Hannah. This is awful. This is awful. I think that shit is going to be completely fucked up in episode 9.
Alternating viewpoint there on that take. I think that if we don't see it, what I would assume happens is that he reacts the same way he did when she told him the first story about Hannah, which is, you're a good mother, it's not your fault, and then just embrace her and let her unload it and just let her release some of that weight to him, bear it for her or with her, because that was my biggest issue of why she wasn't able to tell him in the past, was because she needs to be able to tell him. She needs to be able to tell someone, and this is the person she should really be able to share this with and finally be able to believe that it's not her fault. And I'm not saying that Luke saying it the second time is going to make her believe it just because he knows the truth. But I think that if there's anything that Luke is well versed in, it's the horrors of what he imagines Hannah was going through. So I don't know if this would destroy him by finding it out, because I imagine he's already imagined it. She's been in Gilead, and he knows enough to know that that's not great. And so I am sure as a parent, he's already thought of every worst case scenario of what terrible family has their hands on his daughter, and he has no idea what horrors are happening within those walls. And at least now he understands that, like, June doesn't know a lot, but one of the things that she does know is that she wasn't afraid in that box until June showed up. Mm-hmm. So it's not like she's being treated terrible on a day-to-day basis, and I'm not saying that this is like a comfort. I just don't know if this will destroy him, because I think he's already knows the horrors. I don't know if confirming it will destroy him. I think it will allow him to be there for June in a better way to support her. Ideally, but who knows? I mean, that's a lot to recover from. I just think that was my take on it. That's another alternating viewpoint, but we'll see.
So I do disagree with you, because, I mean, look at how Luke doesn't really know what to do with June right now. Yeah. He doesn't know most of what she's been through. Yeah. He heard it in the testimony, but it's still not enough. It doesn't touch on anything that's happened to her in the last 3 months.
Yeah.
I really don't think he has enough of an idea.
Right. I just don't think that her story that she's about to tell him with Hannah is going to destroy him. Because I imagine that he's already imagined every horrible thing that they could be doing to Hannah, and the fact that she's not there, he probably still thinks about it every night. Like, I can't imagine what it would be like to not know what your child's what's happening to your child on a day-to-day basis. So I just assume his brain's already gone there. But yeah, I see what you're saying with June, that it's just too much to come back from, and once he learns all that information, I could see that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the thing is that with children in Gilead, he knows at least that children are prized and cared for to a point. He's under that assumption, because he's figuring, like, well, they're all about the children.
Yeah.
And for June, when she realized that they were actually going to hurt a child, remember how, like, what a blow it was to her when she realized, like, oh my God, they will hurt kids. And we were all surprised, or I was surprised anyway, because I was like, yeah, you didn't, like, think they go there. Like, it was a shock to June. Mm-hmm. I just don't think that Luke has any idea how deep the rabbit hole goes with Gilead, and I think he will be absolutely horrified to hear what they've been doing with his daughter, and especially to know that, because she's going to tell him that that Hannah didn't recognize her, Hannah was afraid of her. And that's going to horrify him. That's going to absolutely horrify him, because if she was afraid of June, she's not going to have any clue about what to expect from Luke. But think of all the things that they could have potentially pumped all the information they could have pumped their child with. I don't know. I don't think he's going to do well with this. I guess we'll see.
We will see.
I'm concerned for Luke after this.
I'm concerned for him too. I'm struggling with, like, which side to take for both of you, because I see the validity in both of what you're saying. I do think that this conversation is going to be a confirmation of the fears that Luke has had, because what else is one to do when they're across the border in safety, but to rabbit hole every single night about the fate of your wife and your daughter. Yeah. Like, so he's inevitably played out the worst case scenario in his head hundreds, if not thousands of times. But to have that confirmation of those fears kind of come into play, there's no way to know how that's truly going to affect him. Right. All that I have to go on is, like, when she said that, I need to tell you something. I need to tell you about the last time I saw Hannah, and he looked up at her and then held her close, as a way to sort of, like, show that he was going to be there for her. Yeah. That's all that I have to go on this, because it could realistically go either way. It could completely break him and it could break them apart, or it could or it could make them stronger, and it could prove to be a point that Luke is able to be there to stabilize her while she feels comfortable to open up about this. So who fucking knows?
Yeah.
But I think the music might tell us something here. Can I rabbit hole?
Yes, please.
Okay, so continuing on with the beginning scene mirroring the end scene. So the beginning scene where June is cutting off her hair and she's prepping for the day is Glory Box, which is a song by Portishead. And I went a little bit down the rabbit hole about how this is a song about a woman just trying to reclaim her sensuality. And so the song that's playing during this final scene is a song that's called Hell is Around the Corner, and it's by Tricky. Now, Tricky is also from England, and he, if I'm not mistaken, was part of Massive Attack. Massive Attack is a sort of prog rock, like, electronic group that also ran in the same circles as Portishead. Portishead wrote Glory Box, the song that was written originally. So the lyrics for this song, not quite so prolific. There's a few points that are kind of nice. Like confused by different memories. The final like passage is what really does it for me. Is heat from the sun someday slowly passes. Until then, you have to live with yourself, and that's repeated several times.
Yikes.
But what's compelling about both Glory Box by Portishead and Hell is Around the Corner by Tricky is that both songs prolifically sample Isaac Hayes' Ike's rap number 2, Help Me Love.
That's cool.
Oh, no shit.
And they both intentionally do this, like, to a heavy point that, like, when you listen to Hell is Around the Corner, it sounds like a reprieve of Glory Box. And then when you, like, listen to both of them, you realize that it's the exact same beat on both of them. It's the exact same music sampling. So both of these songs heavily sample Isaac Hayes' medley song, Ike's Rap 2, Help Me Love. And the lyrics for this are just, like, these, like, they should have used this song in both the beginning and the end, because the lyrics are, love, love, I know you can hear me. See, we've known each other a long time. I guess right now you've got the last laugh. I know I abused you. I took advantage of you. I used you selfishly. I apologize now. You see, because after suffering so much, I know now I was wrong. Because you're the only one I can turn to. Because I misused you. Because you're the only one that can straighten me. You see, love, I can't sleep, I can't eat, I can't go anywhere anymore. Love, I'm begging you to help me. And love, if you help me just this once, I'll never misuse you anymore. I won't be cold anymore, and I'll forever keep you in my heart.
Wow. That's
and
awesome.
it keeps on going, but, like, it's just so perfect for the relationship for, like, what June and Luke are going through in this. And also, like, and also what June and Moira are going through. And, like, and even what June does to Emily. Like, the lyrics of this song just keep going and going and going and are perfectly encapsulated, like, how this, like, in June's relationships with her interpersonal relationships with everyone that she values in this episode.
That's so cool.
Wow. I guess we have June's soundtrack that's going to follow her around for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. It continues with Help Me Love Find My Way. I'm still living in yesterday. There are certain things I don't care to reveal. You see, they make me feel the way that I feel. I think if I told you, you might just understand why I appear to be such a cold-hearted man. Once upon a time that was so untrue, it turned my heart into stone and left me so blue. Like, it just keeps going and going. So, dear listener, do yourself a favor. Look up Isaac Hayes, Ike's Rap 2.
Okay. I'm going to go put
And, like,
that on my Spotify, too.
Yeah. Do that. Do the thing.
That's so cool.
It was just such a perfect end to this episode because, like, with having Glory Box at the start and Hell is Around the Corner at the end, and both of these songs sampling this song that talks so heavily about, like, someone confiding in their love and being so trepidatious to do so, and understanding the ramifications of it. Like, whoever did the music engineering for this episode, like,
seriously,
spot
so cool.
the fuck on. I applaud you.
I love your music rabbit holes because I don't know. I'm just not good at, like, picking up on the music things. And you know, like, just, I don't know, I feel like this is an obscure reference because I don't know, I feel like I suck at music, and you know it, and thank fucking God, because I never would have picked up on that in a million years.
No.
That is awesome.
You don't suck at music. I just listen to a lot of like off the beaten path music. So as soon as I heard Portishead, and then I heard that Tricky song, I was like, wait a fucking second. I was like, these both sample the exact same song, and I'd never taken that other step to like see what it was. So
yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
I feel like I could call my Spotify playlist Handmaid's Tale songs at this point.
Oh, that's so funny.
I swear, every episode I add a new one. Okay.
That's one of the reasons that I absolutely love this last scene. And it's probably like as powerful as like June's testimony was, and so many other parts of this episode. For me, this was the best. This was the best scene because it so perfectly mirrored the tail end, or the beginning and the end, perfectly bookended each other and wrapped up the entire episode so poignantly.
Yeah. You know what else I liked about the last scene is that it comes on the heels of Moira. It looks like June took Moira's advice when she said you can't live there. You have to release that anger. You can experience the anger, but you can't live there. And that was, the next thing you know, she's taking that first step to kind of release a little bit of her trauma and her burden and share a little bit her experience with Luke, which is something we've seen that she absolutely knows he wants, and she hasn't been able to give him yet. So, yay.
Yes. Absolutely. Agree with that 100%. So, regardless of whether this ends up breaking them apart or bringing them closer together, I think this is an important process for both of them for their healing. So, very proud of both of them.
Come on, screeners.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. All right. Well, since we don't have screeners and we haven't seen episodes 9 and 10, do you two have any predictions for what we're going to see for the next episodes? Because we haven't had a chance to do this.
Do you know what I predict?
What do you predict?
I predict that our next episode that you hear from us will be out late.
Okay, so there's that.
Okay. I don't know what real predictions I got. I'm in a mode now, by the time we're down to episode 9, that I'm just like, gimme. Like, I don't even want to think about what I think's going to happen. I just want to see what it is, because then I know we've got all off season to talk about all the different ways in which we can think that it may or may not go. But right now, I'm like so desperate to see how this season closes out, because, I mean, she got to Canada mid-season, which is like crazy because it's such a huge thing, and that came right in the middle. So, like, what are we ending on? I'm guessing I do predict some kind of like grand finale, supervillain power couple, Waterford explosion. Like, I feel like we keep seeing it a little bit more, and like that hand was definitely something, but like I'm waiting to see their like return to full unhinged, unjailed evil, because it's coming. They're gonna get out of these stupid prisons at some point. I don't know how, but they're gonna.
Mm-hmm.
I like how you see it as a possible Waterford explosion. I'm hoping for an implosion.
No, I'll take it. Purge. I just want to see what happens when they get back in Gilead. Get back to Gilead and have to explain themselves.
Mm-hmm.
If they do get back to Gilead.
Yeah. If they get back to Gilead. Because we have to remember from the historical records, there is no record of what befalls Fred and Serena.
Makes me think they go to Gilead and they're never heard from again.
I think that's the implication. Like, if there were a death record, anything of that persuasion. So the implication is there that they do end up back in Gilead, and then what fate befalls them. I think that's something that's going to be left for season 5 or season 6, though.
Mm-hmm. I think so too, because they couldn't boot them out of the show now.
No, I'm not saying boot him out of the show now. I don't think that, no, I'm not predicting that. I'm predicting that we're going to see them rise to even more power. They're in jail right now. I think we're going to see them get out of jail, and whatever ends up happening, I think that this Doom couple is going to swirl together and become the perfect storm of something. I don't know what. I'm not sure. Like, I don't know how they get themselves out of the legal conundrum they're in, but I have a feeling they're gonna. Somehow.
I don't know if they are. I just hope whatever ends up happening that it results in Serena's baby getting taken away.
Yes. I don't want her to lose the baby. Like I don't want the baby to die, not because like some bleeding heart. I just want her to actually be able to experience giving that child up. I don't think that baby dying in utero, the way June said, wasn't enough for me. I was like, no, she needs to birth that baby, and then she needs to have it plucked from her arms.
Exactly, because if it dies in utero, then she's just going to be like, oh, it was God's will. She's going to use God to rationalize it. But when something she doesn't like happens, it's going to be somebody else's fault, not God.
Yep.
It's going to be so par for the course for the Serena hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. My prediction is on par with Marjorie, that in episodes 9 and 10, we're going to see Serena and Fred grow even closer, even though it's going to be for their own dastardly means. And as much as it pains me to say this, we're going to see Luke and June grow further apart. And we're going to see Moira and June grow further apart as well. June alienating herself from her core three, and the group that has proven to be her rock and her fortitude for the last however long prior, like in the before times, as well as her motivation for the last 7 years. I can definitely see her having a split away from them. And forging off to continue to do what she can to bring Gilead down instead of moving forward with her life the way that Luke and Moira would rather see her do. This concludes our analysis of Season 4, Episode 8, Testimony. We hope that you'll join us for Episodes 9 and 10, which we haven't gotten yet, so we're freaking the fuck out because we're on the same timeline as you, dear listener.
Yeah, we are.
In the meantime, listen to the outro for all the housekeeping. We love you.
Bye.